we can play games, but there's a time and place for everything. And we are out of time. It ain't running. We're out of time when getting in place when it comes to being scientific literate, and also getting our future in place to be, what's the word I'm looking for, able to stand on their own and be on that front field of scientific literacy or scientific advancement, so to speak. We need that.
You sound like Noah's Ark. We run out of time. We ain't run out of no dang. We run out of time. The ark is open.
The sense of urgency. I understand you, Juju. You got light a fire under Unc's ass. It's a sense of urgency. Right?
I'm not playing with Bobby tonight.
I'm running out of time.
I don't have the energy.
You better get that Charles.
I'm the punching back. I'm gonna go ahead. Go ahead. I'm a good punching back.
End of the world.
Listen to Dr. Moiya right now. Because if you don't get it now, it's not going to be around tomorrow.
Exactly. That's it.
You know what?
Noah's Ark. What happened to all the insects on the ark? Why we got so many damn mosquitoes now?
Here you go.
I mean, if it happened, then dang.
They had them in a jar.
They don't talk about having any insects. They have them in a jar. There's a clay pot.
Before jars was invented.
It was them pottery jars from the Nakata. Not the play. I mean, right? Is
pots and pans. Them pots and pans.
I've been getting confused. I need to get myself together. That's what somebody told me in the Discord. I need to get myself together. I'm working on it though.
You can't say that all the insects was in a jar.
Can't say they was in a jar. No, they was in them pottery, that wavy line pottery. That's what they was in.
Excuse me. Are you saying they scamming?
They scamming, man.
Oh man. All right. So look, we got 70,000 building, man. We got 70,000 in the building, man. They say they scamming when it comes to Noah's Ark. They couldn't fit all the insects in the jar. Man.
I was tripping. I saw one joke where they got the picture of all the two animals going on board, and they got two of the lions going on board. So,
right? They don't have a female and a male. It's like two males.
Lions going on the boat, yo.
Exactly. So my urgency also has to play. I want to add this on this tidbit. My urgency when I was speaking on that, and my sense of urgency also has to play in. When we're talking about securing generational wealth or whatnot. Well, also these jobs that can help us secure that are in the fields of tech and whatnot, and in these scientific fields. So the urgency for that is also great. And this is where we need to be leading our future and our children and our young adults and our young people, period. And even some of, our old people that still got it. And this is where we need to be leading them into. I think once we...
All right. So, okay.
Damn, I'm out of there.
Juju, go ahead and introduce our guest speaker for tonight.
Oh, man, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have for you an extraordinary young lady who has done amazing work. Not only does she have one Ivy League degree, she has several, including one from Columbia University, in astrophysics, a PhD in astrophysics. She dauntedly goes by a science communicator, which she does very well. She also majored in folklore, which gives a very interesting and unique look at how we view science. So without further ado, the beautiful Dr. Moiya McTier.
All right, let me do this right. Let me mute myself out, man. Let's get into it, man. Hey, y'all know what it is, man. Pseudo Killas at the movies. Dr. Moiya. All right, there we go.
Whenever you're ready, Bobby.
All right. A well-organized lie defeats a disorganized truth every time. Woo-hoo-wee, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. It's the pseudo killers on deck. And we coming to do what we got to do. And we're going to do what we got to do. We standing tall. We standing strong. Pseudo killers on deck. Hey, what's good, Sirius B? What it do? What it do?
All right, peace, brother. Peace to the panel, and peace to our esteemed guest, Dr. McTier. All right, I think this is going to be a treat for the entire community. So yeah, I won't take a lot of time. Let's get into it. All right, peace.
Yeah, what it do, Juju? What it do? What it do?
What it do, fam? Thank you for joining us tonight. We're so excited. And thank you again, Dr. McTier, for indulging us and being here today.
ACK, I see you. What it do? What it do? What it do?
Peace, peace. Peace to the panel and peace to the chat. Thank you for coming through, Dr. McTier. Looking forward to getting your wisdom and insight tonight.
Clark Kent, you know what it is, man. What it do? What it do? What it do? You're on mute. That's what it do.
What's up, man? Glad to be here. Y'all can hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. You know what I'm saying? Glad to be here, man. Glad to have you with us, Dr. Moiya. Man, I think it's going to be a great interview, man. And just ready to learn some things and have a good conversation, man.
Miss Tiffany, what it do? What it do? What's up with you?
I'm doing good. And thank you all for being here. And welcome again, Dr. McTier.
Juju, it's on you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Ankh, Bobby. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We want to thank you all for your support in our endeavors to promote scientific literacy. We are excited to have you all join us this evening for a very interesting and exciting discussion about our universe and maybe a little folklore if we're lucky. Our guest is an extraordinary young woman who is creating a very unique path as a science communicator in the field of astrophysics. Not only does she hold 4 Ivy League degrees, but she is the first in Harvard's history to graduate with a double major in astrophysics and folklore and mythology. She is also the first Black woman to receive her PhD from the prestigious astronomy program at Columbia University. Not to mention, she is the creator of an exquisite piece of work, the autobiography of our galaxy, the Milky Way. This phenomenal young woman has already so much, and I could go on forever. But we, the pseudo killers, want to give you all the opportunity to enjoy and experience our guests in this space as much as possible. So without further ado, my fellow Earthlings, I present to you the innovative, the incomparable, the beautiful Dr. Moiya McTier. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to indulge us this evening, Dr. McTier. I heard someone call you that, and I thought that was awesome, so I hope you don't mind.
No, not at all. One of the many hats that I wear is as a host for a show called Fate and Fabled about mythology and folklore. And within the little Fate and Fabled crew, they call me Dr. McTier, and the other host is Dr. Z. So it's nice.
I love that. So I wanted you to briefly tell us how you got to where you are today.
Okay. I want to preface this story and say that at no point along the story did I think I would get to this point where I am in life until maybe a couple of years ago. When I got the deal to write the Milky Way's autobiography, that's when I knew that this was a good path for me. But I'll say it started as a kid. I grew up in the woods as an only child, kind of. I now have brothers, but I didn't. And so I spent most of my time reading fantasy books and playing around in the woods and just being really good at school. And I was interested in everything. I had no idea what I wanted to major in. And so when I got to college, it was just kind of up to chance. I lived across the street from the Folklore and Mythology building, and they always gave out like tea and cakes. I'm very motivated by my stomach. You'll see that in this story. And I was dragged to an astronomy class by one of my rugby teammates. I played rugby in college, and the teacher said we'd get free pizza every week. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. You know, I'm a broke college student. I will take some free carbs. And I think a lot of people can relate. But by the end of my sophomore year of studying both of these things, I was hooked on both. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to combine them, but I ended up writing a science fiction novel that was set on a real planet outside of our solar system that I had studied as part of my research in college. And that, without knowing it, was my first attempt at facts-based fictional world building. And then I went to a PhD program at Columbia for astronomy because it seemed more strategic than pursuing my passion for folklore. So I got the PhD. I learned a lot about the universe and galaxies and the way that stars move and change over time and the ways that planets are different from each other in different parts of the galaxy. That's what I really loved to think about. And then I decided I could combine them. When it came time to thinking about getting my big girl job, you know, I wanted to do what was fun. And so I started making my own podcasts. I started doing a lot of talks about science. And over time, it snowballed into a career that I could actually sustain. And so now I'm a science communicator, which is a very broad term that my Nana does not understand what I do. She keeps asking me when I'm going to get a job. And I'm like, Nana, I have my own business. I'm all right.
Oh my goodness, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Thank you. So right into our first question. You spoke briefly about when science or your perception of science became racialized for you. Can you expound on that shift of perception? And also, could you please discuss the importance of inclusion, access, and representation in the fields of sciences, particularly hard sciences?
100%. Yeah. So I grew up in the country, like in a very rural area. I was the only Black person. There were Confederate flags everywhere. And so I grew up experiencing racism in this extremely overt, in-your-face way. And when I got to college at Harvard, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. You know, there were actually other Black people around. People weren't like yelling slurs when I walked down the street. Like, I just thought it was a much better place. And the summer after my junior year of college, it was the summer after my sophomore year. I was lucky enough to be in a research program that was research plus social justice. And they really talked about systemic racism, specifically within academia, but we also had to talk about it in the larger context of society. And so that was an eye-opener. And I had a few racially charged experiences at Harvard. And so I started to see how racism could be systemic and it could be covert. And that was an eye-opener. And I realized I could not just be an astrophysicist. You know, I have to be a woman. I'm a Black person. I'm a queer person. And I have to be loud and proud about all of these different identities that I have to find all of the communities that I can, because this space was not built for people like me, like us. This space was built to keep people like us out. And so representation is important because it lets us find community. It lets us build support networks that keep people alive and keep people thriving within academia. I would not be the astrophysicist I am without the people I met in that research plus social justice program. You know, they're my best friends today.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Tiffany?
So next up, we have Brendan. Brendan has a question for you.
All right. So I'll get right into it. So in terms of, this question would be for, people in our audience that may not necessarily be, science or physics enthusiasts, right? But if you could you actually go into, what is the field of astrophysics, right? In an overall sense, right? What is its significance within the scientific fields, right? So just at a broad level there, right? So how does it actually help us to improve our understanding of the universe, right? And how does it actually help us understand the physical world?
I love that question. I got a lot of flack from my pre-med and my like psychology major friends in college for studying astronomy because it's not a practical science. And I think that's beautiful. We study astrophysics for the sake of gaining new knowledge. And that's just like a beautiful human endeavor. But it's also something that lets us answer some of the most fundamental questions that humans can ask. Where did we come from? Are we alone? Why are we here? What else is there, you know? And so I think that there is a lot of benefit to studying astronomy, which is the study of space, of outer space and the universe. So it encompasses galaxies, black holes, stars, planets. There are people who know a lot about space and study space, but think of Earth in the context of space. They think of Earth as a planet. They think about its formation. And so astronomy or astrophysics comes out of this long history of Indigenous people of our ancestors around the world looking up at the night sky for very practical reasons. There used to be a much fuzzier boundary between astronomy and astrology. People would look up at the night sky to keep time and to navigate and to pass down knowledge from generation to generation. And that attention that people paid to the night sky eventually became associated with math. And we added numbers and physics onto it. And we started to understand gravity and some of the real fundamental forces that underpin the motion that we've been observing for thousands of years. And so another thing that astrophysics gives us, one thing that I do a lot in my work, is this connection between science and folk knowledge and Indigenous knowledge that people around the world have.
Oh, that's a great explanation. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
all right.
thanks.
All right, our next question comes from CK.
Hello, how you doing, Dr. McTier? My question is a little bit more personable. I saw on your YouTube channel that you do a lot of videos on fictional world building. And, you know, growing up, I read a lot of comic books and even wrote my own stories and made my own world up. So I was definitely heavily interested in the courses that you were starting on fictional world building. So I wanted to ask, what was your motivation to starting this teaching course on fictional world building?
Yeah, thank you for that question, because you know, I have this degree in astrophysics and I studied folklore, but my love, my passion is fictional world building because it sits at the intersection of those two things. After I graduated from college and I started to get more into the astronomy side, I was craving a way to find my folklore roots again. And so I started teaching workshops on how to let science inspire your creativity. Those eventually morphed into a live show that I did called Exolore, teaching people how to build a fictional world based on expert guest knowledge. And then it turned into a podcast. And over time, I realized that the way I approach fictional worlds is kind of different from how a lot of other people approach it, because I have this science background. And I don't believe in gatekeeping. I believe in sharing my knowledge with anyone who is around to hear it, to take it in. And so I wanted to share my process with other people. So real quick, I teach people how to build worlds in 5 steps. You start with your intention for the world. What do you want to do with it? What kind of world do you want it to be? What is the biggest difference between our reality and this fictional world you're building? And then just in nature, you start with the environment and then move on to biology that would evolve in that environment under those conditions, and then the culture that would arise from those life forms' biological needs and what resources they had available. Those are the steps, and I want everyone to have it if they want it.
All right, wonderful. We have Kent. Kent's next.
Yep. Hello. So I was having a conversation with someone about how big the galaxy was, and how we are fans of it, and how long it was across and the spiral of it. And it was like, well, how do the scientists know that if the satellites that we haven't gone outside of the galaxy to be able to take a picture of it, right? So I was wondering if you could explain the methods used to develop a visual model of the Milky Way galaxy.
People only first realized we were actually in a galaxy that was one galaxy among many in the universe about 100 years ago. There was this great debate in the 1920s about whether or not galaxies were a thing. And so this is fairly new knowledge. But for a long time, we recognized that we were around one star that was probably one of many in this collection of stars. And so one of the earliest attempts to map the galaxy was done by William and Caroline Herschel in the, I want to say 1700s. And they made some wackadoodle assumptions. They assumed that all stars were the same color. They assumed that we were kind of in the center of things. And so they made that faulty assumption. And that resulted in this first map that looked really weird. Not first map of the actual galaxy, because indigenous people had been mapping what they could see, but first attempt at mapping like the bird's eye view of this collection of stars. And so now we do not use those same assumptions. We know that stars are different sizes and different colors. We know that we are not in the center. And that's because we have really powerful telescopes that can see really far away. And essentially, they let us count how many stars are along our path in different directions. And from creating that three-dimensional map, one slice at a time, we've been able to figure out how our galaxy is shaped. It also helps that we have looked at a lot of other galaxies, and we've seen that they usually fall into one of a few different categories. They're either a spiral galaxy or they're a big blob. And we could tell from that like slicing that we weren't a big blob. And so it makes sense that we would be a spiral galaxy like so many others that we have seen.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Appreciate the question.
All right. And next up, excuse me, we have Bobby.
Dr. Moiya, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, you know it. Yeah. So there's always a running discussion in semi-debate. And this question is kind of like two pieces. Talk about indigenous African tribes. There's two of them in particular. The Nile Valley Egyptians and the Dogon. One, in your opinion, or in your expert understanding, did the Egyptians understand the Big Bang? And two, did the Dogon know or see Sirius B?
Great questions. I'll start with the Egyptians. They most certainly did not understand the Big Bang in the way that we do. Physicists and astrophysicists now understand the Big Bang in terms of chemistry and the chemical reactions that would have happened in milliseconds after the Big Bang. We've done this with simulations. We've done this with experiments at the Large Hadron Collider to figure out how energetic different events would have been. We know about the fundamental forces of gravity and the nuclear forces that bind atoms together. We know about different scales of the world now that the Egyptians did not know about. They might have had a conceptual understanding of a cyclical universe or a universe that was dynamic and changed over time. But there were many cultures around the world that had creation myths that are kind of similar to how the world was actually created, you know? There are a lot of myths that start with nothing. They start with chaos or oblivion, and then the earth forms, and then the air forms, and then there's light, you know? And so these orders are similar to the actual order in which things happened physically, but that's a different type of understanding of the Big Bang than we have. About the Dogon, they probably did see Sirius A. They may have seen Sirius B if they had really good eyesight. That's possible. But it is unlikely that the stories about the Dogon having known that it was its own star and that there was life around it and that the life came to Earth, that is probably not true. That's probably not actually their original belief. It seems that it's because a European anthropologist who wanted to study the Dogon, who had knowledge about this other star around Sirius, came to the Dogon and inserted that knowledge into his interpretations of what the Dogon were telling him. That's actually very common in old anthropology, and now anthropologists learn as much as possible how not to insert their own knowledge into their interpretation. That does not mean they weren't accomplished astronomers. That does not mean that they couldn't see the star, but I think that is an urban legend. Yeah.
Thank you.
All righty. Next up, we have Brendan again.
That was a great answer, because in ethnographic studies, there's a saying that you can impact the answer just by asking the question, right? So
yes.
So yep. So I have an actual question. This is from Anthony, right? He's the leader of our astronomy club. He actually wasn't able to attend the meeting, and this would have been a real treat for him. But I'm going to be his representative. I'm going to ask the question from him. You know, he spends a lot of time around his telescopes and tinkering around outside. So his question is regarding tools and instruments. So he's asking, let's see if I can share this right quick. So his question is, which instruments and data sets do you utilize most frequently for your work? And I'm presuming he's saying when you're doing active work as a scientist or astrophysicist.
Yeah, when I was actively doing research in grad school, I mostly used publicly available data from space-based telescopes. My research was all about the galactic habitable zone, which was a pretty new area of research, relatively speaking. And the whole goal of this field is to figure out where in the galaxy the conditions for life are most likely to be found. But that's a really interdisciplinary question. Most astronomers become experts in moons or planets or one type of star, you know? To do this research, I had to know about the relationship between planets and habitability, planets and their stars, stars and their location of the galaxy. I had to know how galaxies evolve over billions of years. And so the two main types of data that I needed were a database of all of the planets we had discovered and what star they orbited, and then information about how those stars move around the galaxy. So for the first set of information, I mostly used Kepler data. Kepler was a really beautiful mission that was launched in 2009 and retired in 2018, but it was responsible for finding thousands of the exoplanets that we have confirmed. It was a beautiful little transit photometry powerhouse. It found planets by looking for the shadows that they cast on their stars. And it's my favorite mission in astronomy. So that told me where all the planets are that we've found. And then the other one was Gaia. Gaia is a gorgeous spacecraft that is giving us the most accurate and precise map of stars and their positions and motions in the Milky Way galaxy. It's giving us a map of over 1 billion stars in the Milky Way. And it tells us where they are now. It tells us where they're moving, so we can predict how their orbits will change over time. Yeah, so that data is all publicly available, which was really nice because I didn't have to apply for time on telescopes. I actually am not very good at using a telescope. But these are also all like huge science grade instruments that you need to apply for time on. Those are the ground-based telescopes. For ones that you could get for your backyard, I am even more useless. I've never been like a leader for a backyard astronomy gazing type of thing, but you can get a good telescope for like $50 these days, which is kind of nice.
Oh, wow. Wow. It's interesting because when you talk about the data sets, right? Sort of like, you think about Isaac Newton and how brilliant he was, right? But he wouldn't have been able to do what he did in terms of his laws of motion without that data set that he got from the Royal Observatory. So yeah, that is it's interesting. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and it is nice that a lot of publicly funded observatories these days do have to make at least part of their data publicly available. There are cool projects that you can do to actually comb through data. If you go to zooniverse.com, ZOONIVERSE, Zooniverse, you can get involved with science and use real data.
Awesome.
All righty, so I'm up next. My question is, someone told me, a little birdie told me that you moonlight as a comedian. So do you have a cute little Cosmo joke you can tell us? If not, anything else.
I have done two stand-up sets, and they were not about science. They were about stuff that I feel like I shouldn't repeat in a professional
No problem.
setting.
Well, that's fine.
For like a silly. I wish. Oh, now I need to have like an on-command science joke, but nothing's coming to me.
You know, it was a shout out of the dark. I thought maybe you would have one, but it's okay.
Oh, there's the classic. There's the classic. You know, God looked down on the creation of the solar system, and one planet stood out from among the rest. And how do you know which one it was?
Don't know.
It was Saturn. He liked it, so he put a ring on it.
Okay.
See, we got it.
There we go. There you go.
All right. So up next we have Juju again. Let me get Juju up here.
Yes. So how does folklore shape and reflect the cultural identity of different societies or communities?
Oof. Big question. This is like people get whole degrees in this stuff. I think the most fundamental answer I can give you is that the culture that arises from a group is kind of a direct consequence of what that group needs to do to survive and what resources they have available. So the reason you see differences in cultures in different parts of the world is because they had different access to like different types of food, different materials to build their homes, different patterns that they would see in nature and want to emulate in their fashion or something, you know, or they would have to overcome problems that were regionally specific. This is why, you know, you don't, there's something that historians talk about when it comes to wheels in the desert. Like why didn't these very old societies develop wheels? And it's because they had camels and other animals that could carry things over the desert. They didn't need to have carts that transported that. And in like European societies, they had roads or flatter, rockier paths to roll carts on. And so, yeah, culture looks different in different parts of the world just because they're doing the same stuff, but with different stuff.
Just one second. Who do we have coming up next?
I think it's me next. Got another
Brendan again.
And this is another folklore type conversation or question here. Let's see if I can bring it up. All right. So, you know, in terms of how we talk about, you know, cultural history being preserved, right? Using both oral tradition, and this is in African and Indigenous population groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you discuss the importance of storytelling and oral tradition as it relates to folklore, right? Oh. And this is specifically as it relates to things like, you know, the transmission of cultural values, the transmission of belief systems, and knowledge transfer across your generations in the population groups.
Yeah, this is a big topic. So first, I should say that these stories, the folklore function. No, actually, I'm gonna start even earlier than that. Writing was invented. At first, humans had to just talk about things. They had to remember information because they couldn't write it down and store it for later or transport it to somewhere else. We learned and we lived by word of mouth. And so we had to get really good at remembering stuff, and our brains are kind of hardwired to remember narrative. We are hardwired to pay attention to and remember stories. And so we encoded some of the most important information that our future generations needed to know in stories. We encoded information about where the good water and where the good food sources were in myths about mystical creatures. We encoded information about when big storms were coming in myths about gods that have a behavior cycle in the sky, you know? And so we needed to have folklore in order to survive, or else future generations would have forgotten the lessons that their ancestors learned. So that takes us to some of the functions of folklore. Really, it is to educate. It educates people about social norms. These are like little fairy tales, like the Hansel and Gretel that tell you to not stray off the beaten path in the woods, or Little Red Riding Hood, don't stray from the beaten path, don't trust strangers. So they teach us social norms. They teach us really important cultural things that we need to survive, like where the food is, where when the seasonal storms are coming. And it's fun. It's entertaining. It's a way for us to pass time on a Saturday night before they had TikTok. And it cements our identities as a community. When you interact with someone else who knows your same stories, who is embedded in your same culture and folklore, you experience that kinship. I'm sure we've all experienced it. If we've ever, suddenly seen another Black person in a space where there aren't a lot of us, we have these cultural touchstones that we will use to communicate to each other, like, hey, we have this thing in common. And especially as communities who have been oppressed, who have had their culture taken away from them, oral storytelling is a really powerful way to hold on to your identity, to hold on to your ancestors and your past, because you can't write it down because people are going to find it. So you have to pass it on through stories, often in coded language. That was definitely something that a lot of enslaved people were doing here in the US, for sure. Folklore literally saves lives.
I sort of like that, folklore as a mechanism for human survival, right?
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, a mechanism for having fun, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was that part one right there. All right. Yeah, that was fire.
Oh yeah, that was.
What was that? Was that you or me? Who was that? That was you. Was that me? Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, that was smash right there, man. I like that. That was a good part one of that, man. We're gonna bring the rest of that, man. I like that conversation right there. Yeah, I think that was pretty good, man. I think we did our thing for the night, man. I don't think we would have messed the interview up. I think that was good. Any commentary on that, you think? Nah.
I would say in terms of, I really appreciate the way she sort of delivers her answers. She's very concise, especially, with us being very time constrained, and we had a ton of different topics that we wanted to discuss with her, right? Mm-hmm. This was both on the scientific side regarding astrophysics and on the folklore side. So, with her being, sort of an expert in both of those areas and getting through the ton of questions that we had, she did an outstanding job.
Yeah, I thought she did, man. I appreciate the interview, man. The second half is even more powerful. Yeah, man, y'all can go ahead and rewind that download, man. Send it out to your family, and that's just part of our catalog of what we're actually doing. Maybe tomorrow we'll go ahead and play the other astrophysicists we had on. Go ahead and play that. We got that queued up too, and that's part of the work. That's what we're doing, man. We're gonna, out of these conversations we have, we're gonna bring experts on the conversation. So we brought the two physicists right? And I'm always ask them questions that's going down in the community about that, right? So like when we bring an anthropologist on, we'll ask about, was Charles Darwin thing outdated? Right? You know, we'll bring an expert in Egypt. We'll ask him, well, is this that? Right? That's always going to be the measure. And we're going to find out what side of history people fall on. Any of the ladies, you, Miss Tiff, did you enjoy that interview? I thought you did a great job of, you know, controlling the controls and just moving it forward. I appreciate both of the sisters. CK, they was actually in charge of the interview. That's why it was really high level professional. If I was in charge of it, I don't know. Dove out the window on him, but yeah, also appreciate Brendan.
A little shaky there, right?
Appreciate Brendan, you know what I'm saying? And I appreciate Kent and all the pseudo killers. But go ahead, Ms. Tiff. What do you think about that and our thing going forward?
I appreciated, you know, the way she answered the questions, very straight to the point. And she was able to give a lot of information. She chose her words, you know, she was just an expert at it. She was an expert.
Right. Fun.
And it was sort of in contrast to the interview that we did with Dr. Farah from the University of Hawaii, right? Because he was really steeped in the science part of the conversation, right? So being able to actually have her, which was more approachable for people that may not necessarily be a physics enthusiast, I think that was helpful with this and especially with this particular community, right?
She made it palatable.
Right, absolutely, very approachable from that regard.
But you must remember also, she is a self-proclaimed science communicator, and if we look up the definition, it is exactly that: bringing forth scientific information, and that is her niche, is to do it in a palatable way for those who are not as scientifically engaged or you know, or whatnot. So and the fact that she was also a major in folklore, it helped us navigate our questions a little differently. And while we were doing research, well, me in particularly, I'll speak for myself, doing research and looking at some of her podcasts and whatnot, and also reading her excellent work, autobiography of our galaxy, the Milky Way. By that, it was a little bit more relaxing and less intimidating for me personally. Even with Dr. Farah, I may have been intimidated in the beginning, but once we got into that interview, he himself, I mean, the weight of the information is astronomical, but he made it approachable for me and very engaging still. He was just very, very specific. And with that specificity, it came a little bit longer in his answers, you know, but she's a pro at it. So I think that was the fundamental difference.
Great communicator, right?
Exactly. An excellent science communicator.
So apropos.
And I think it kind of speaks to what I talked about earlier and wondering why people think from their seat on YouTube and TikTok that they can overthrow an expert, a professional person that gets paid to do it, to study, to understand nuances in said field, to understand the field, to understand, science guides us, right, on Earth through situations that a lot of times 350,000 years ago, we just had not built up a big enough catalog to really, understand a lot of the things. Like we said, there's no missing steps in nature. You can't just jump to the answer. And that's why I love science. It forces you to build a foundation. So if you just think you're going to understand how human beings came to be and why it's in Africa and not other places as of 2023, you're just not going to jump into it. It doesn't seem right. right? No one wants to think they're an animal, right? But we're used to saying that we're mammals, right? But elephants are mammals too, but that doesn't make you an elephant, you know. So no one wants to actually, you know, feel that way because we're human centric and we feel like we are the best. And for years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, they thought that the sun actually revolved around Earth because we're Earth centric. You know, we got the only spot in the cosmos. You look at our religion. Our religion is based on Earth, right? And we always feel like we're the most important. But thank goodness for people like Dr. Moiya, okay, that like she said, we look to the cosmos, right, to get knowledge about the cosmos, and it's an important step. Our taxpayer money goes to a lot of those things, and it's about time that our community start to actually invest in that. So find a program, find some science communicators, man. Hopefully it's us, man. You know, donate. We're building a tight organization around here, man, and we're gonna be around for a long time. It's all in the name of Pseudo Killas, man. And you know, I appreciate teamwork, right? I just appreciate all the work that everybody putting in. I also appreciate the level of professionalism. I personally just think I'm ready for the stage. I wouldn't have been ready a couple years ago, right? For the direction we're going in, because I just felt like people should just get cussed out. Let me stop that. Anyway,
Hey, hold on.
And they still do now.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Not that they don't deserve it, right?
Necessary.
But it like this though. You slick with it, right? When you can talk to the experts and the people that you've been debating. I can't help but mention this, right? Because the chat brought it up. When you talk to the experts and they say, yo, that Dogon debate is over. I just wanted to say that, but go ahead.
I missed that. My son dove in my ear.
Kent was trying to put a feather in his hat or something right now. I don't know. He's patting himself on the back or something. I don't know. That's what he's doing.
Hello, yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying. But you know, respect to the brothers, you know what I'm saying? But hey, when the experts said, bro, hey, you know, we don't play around when it comes to this science.
Got that validation.
Right. There you go.
Man. It's
right.
undefeated.
We read the works.
It's undefeated, man. Come on.
The death.
Of course, we have to use these engagements to settle a few scores, right? So put some points on the board.
I can't imagine what scores you have yet to settle.
We're gonna get them and ain't over with.
It's quite a few. It's quite a few.
Matter of fact, I heard Cedric is over there beating the brakes off of Lex right now. Of course, he's gonna beat the brakes off him. Did y'all think it was gonna be anything?
Oh man. I heard a claim today. How could nucleosynthesis be possible? How could all of the hydrogen in the universe form in the first 5 minutes after the formation, after the Big Bang? How that doesn't make sense to me. Right?
I got the clip too, but I don't know if I should say it in this moment. I got the clip. Maybe we'll say that for Monday. Maybe.
Save that. I don't know, for the debate. I don't know. But again,
yeah, we'll save that.
We've done clinics on these conversations.
Clinics. So we you know, for me, being able to converse. See, we'll have a meeting with the expert, actually converse with them, and for me, being able to transmit the ideas that I'm talking about and understand some of the things that they're saying, I think that's proof positive to the work that everybody's dedicated in learning around here. I think it is. I think that's important to be able to understand what she's saying at a level where we can bring it back to the community, and that's basically what we're doing here. And we're not going nowhere no time soon. So so death to the pseudos. Y'all know what it is, man. So man, a lot of people came in the building today, man. We don't want this to be too long. We want to be able to, you know, we want y'all to go back, send this out to your family. Say, check this out. This is what an astrophysics does, right? Learn about the world you live in. Know where your place is in the cosmos. And be honest with you, Kent, I thought you actually asked the best question. Because I never thought about it. Yeah, that was good. And it was funny when you asked it in the meeting. You was like, you said your people's got you with it. that was that was a
great style. Like, yeah, okay, I'm fine out though.
Stammering. Yeah, that was a good one. So yeah, and we appreciate all the support, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Hit the Cash App, hit the likes, man. Subscribe to the community of Skeptics. Subscribe to the Pseudo Killas. Y'all know y'all can catch me over there at Black News 102, man. I think I'm gonna dive on there for a minute, man. We got anything to add to this, man? I think we keep it short and sweet, man, so they can go back and check out the star of the show, because Dr. Moiya was definitely the star of the show. Y'all want to add anything, man, before we tap out of what? What's good?
It was great. It was a great show.
Great interview. Right, great show.
Yeah, we figure out when we want to do the part 2. Give it a couple more weeks. Throw that part 2 in there for the family.
Yep, and also we'll slide some of the content from the interview with Dr. Farah as well. Should be some interesting scientific conversations that comes out of that. So absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, so look, man, I appreciate everybody that tapped in tonight, man. Hey, Human 2.0, I see you. All right, Joe Armstrong, I see you. Regular Joe, what's good with you? Zoo 221. I see you, Professor X, in the building. Y'all know what it is. Gideon Block, man. Appreciate you, bro. Y'all already know what it is, man. Appreciate all the Pseudo Killas, man. I appreciate the whole thing. Gina A, Ren TV. I see you. All right, so that's what it was, man. We put that thing down, and y'all already know how it is, yo. We doing it strong, man. And you know what, man? At the end of the day, how they said, don't hate us, hate the game. The game made us, yo. And all heroes need a theme song. To all the heroes that transmit science, man, we doing it for the betterment of our community, you know, moving us forward, man. Hey, yo, ain't nothing but love around here, man. We doing it because we appreciate everything that's going on in the community, man. We might be battling with the pseudos, but at the end of the day, we got a soft spot for you. But we got to make sure the information is right and exact, man. Y'all know what it is. Shout out to DQ, man, for putting that together, man. You know we got our theme song. Don't hate us, man. Hate the game. The game made us. Y'all know what it is, man.
Source up and show me, homie, and shut up and mute up a moment. The mad scientist, I'm knowing all the components. We own it, and we gon' off it if it's pseudo. You do know we don't entertain that keyboard judo. That big Bobby banger out of Baltimore. Done it all, shopper folks. Sold a little something, but I taught you more than your average teacher. I had to reach you at your level to bring you up. No devil can never beat you. With precision of a magi, the information supplied by some guys get debunked. Online, CK and Juju, I chill in the cut. But if you boys wanna fade, then I'm chefing you up. I organize lie, the beats of disorganized truth every time. Kudos, who those niggas? Decorated pseudo killers. Space age Africans, back again. An organized lie, the beats of disorganized truth every time. Kudos, who those niggas? Decorated pseudo killers. Space age Africans, tapping in. I always been fly, that's an actual omen. You can catch me in the sky, ask Anthony Bowman. You see me with his telescope, I was actually floating off some good kush that Sabio is actually growing. See, Gullah and Kent is where the money gets spent. Them boys got some books that cost as much as your rent. The second verse should be smashed Rockwell, but I rock well. Underground like Sumerian Rockwells. In the ring like I'm the rock whale. Hell, create a different wave that can rock whales. Hell, shit swell like lunar tides. My entendres off Gandra to who describe euthanized foolish guys. Scholastically, haphazardly, turn your camera on and look me in my eyes. And please do subscribe. 8 to 80, blind, cripple, or crazy. You in for a new surprise. It's DQ, a organized lie. The beats of disorganized truth every time. Kudos, who those niggas? Decorated pseudo killers. Space age Africans, back again. An organized lie. The beats of disorganized truth every time. Kudos, who those niggas? Decorated pseudo killers. Space age Africans, tapping in.